All right, hello. Welcome everybody to this Bruce Poppy Show. I'm Bruce Poppy. Today's guest is Joshua Hale. He's an entrepreneur, best-selling author, an AI strategist, and a self-proclaimed paranoid AI enthusiast. After leaving a controlling religion as a teenager and spending years battling addiction, Josh has rebuilt his life from the ground up. Today, he helps entrepreneurs harness the power of AI without surrendering their critical thinking, their privacy, or their humanity. And he does this from his homestead in Washington State. And he's on a mission now to show people how to embrace the future without losing their soul. Welcome to the Bruce Poppy Show, Joshua.
Thanks for having me on, Bruce. Yeah, really excited to go into my story and be able to help people make sense of this because the term AI really doesn't mean a whole lot anymore with how many definitions and uses are out there.
Oh, absolutely. It's really, whether we like it or not, it is the part of our life that we neither you can't I've embraced it, and I know people who will stay the hell away from it. They don't have nothing to do with it, but we're getting to a point where you really don't have a choice. And I was very intrigued by that line in your bio that you're a self-proclaimed, that line really grabbed me, a paranoid AI enthusiast. Those two things don't sound like they go together. So tell me, what does a paranoid AI enthusiast actually mean?
Well, I gave a presentation at Linux Fest which is a open source operating system. A whole bunch of nerds getting together, and my presentation was called "10 Dangers of AI That You're Going to Face in This Lifetime." And during the preparation for that presentation, I found like real time examples for every 10 points, and so it's like happening right now. And you know paranoid because I grew up questioning 9/11 and everything under the sun, and the whole AI and how it's being shoved down our throats unwillingly and stuffed into everything from toasters to fridges to flock cameras. These things have a lot of legitimate concerns, and then simultaneously I see it as a huge empowering tool that, in the right hands, can use it for a lot of good. I think how we've been using technology for the last decade, 2 decades, has been really inefficient and has like filled up every nook and cranny of our lives with small tasks that are now going to become obsolete, and our addiction to the screens. And I think that's on purpose, but
Oh
we
yeah.
now have an opportunity to like create some moats around us to what I call the Godfather life is being able to create some AI agents that check in with you in the morning, respect your time, respect your relationship with technology, and avoid the 150 notifications you get each day, but just get like a report and be like, hey, this is what's important. Tell me yes, no, maybe so, and I'll go and do this for you. And so I want to move us to a world in just in the next like year that is going to be able to respect our lives. We can have this powerful technology and actually get stuff done, support our businesses, support our revenue streams, support our family management. I'm building a butler handbook right now just to help with the household management, right? Everything's so much. I got a kid, I got a farm, I got a mutual aid group. I like to DJ and throw community events. All this stuff is a lot of work and is finally going to become like manageable. And
Sure.
so, there's two sides to this thing, the top down decision making that's happening and the relationship between big corporations and the government, and this powerful tool that I don't think, the controlling powers of the world were prepared for unleashing this to the public and the empowerment possibilities this brings.
Right. And you can't really, I mean, at this point, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. And so
Yeah.
we need to learn, some things, and you can start with some basic stuff. I mean, you don't have to have it, controlling your entire life. And that's what I like about the stuff that you bring forward is it's a tool. I've used the analogy before of it's like the Second Amendment, a weapon. It's in a hands of a good person, it's fantastic. You can save lives. And the same thing goes with the AI. In the hands of bad people or good people, it's a tool and how you use it. And you do, set up some guardrails. And I know we're going to be talking about some of that stuff as we move on. Another thing that you talk about, you call yourself a scout for the village. So please explain what that means.
Yeah, this has to do a lot with my personality. Like I like to explore and stay on the cutting edge. Like if you try and keep up with AI right now, it is a full-time job and it changes like every day. New models are coming out basically about every 2 to 6 weeks at this point, and so just to trying to keep up with it is a lot for most people. I have the personality where I'm already like super fascinated and a bit obsessed about this because I see the potential here that I like to scout and like figure out what's good, what's dangerous, what's useful, what is a time suck, what is some of the like real dangers of these like AI companions and the dark stuff that brings so that I can like bring it back to the village. And I respect people's wishes and like their stance if they're like, yeah, I don't want to have anything to do with that AI stuff. I just want to like, live off grid and live in the village. Cool. I respect that. Like that is a beautiful space to occupy if you have the revenue streams to do so, if you have the community that has to be built in order to support that life, because there's no lone wolf, off grid reality in this world. So if you can live in the village and minimize your tech use, sweet. I respect that. But for the rest of us, we're trying to survive. We're trying to survive in a system that is corrupt and is not in, the cards are not in our favor. And so we have to like hustle to create money, to build our dreams, and ideally to be able to like insulate our families from the rapid change that's happening around us. I call it a controlled demolition. So being able to leverage AI to be able to help with that process is like what I'm here to do, and I'm looking for other people to help out with that process too.
Right. So, and being that AI is relatively new, and I know you have some history, I'd like to dive into that. So, who was Joshua before becoming the paranoid AI enthusiast?
Yeah, I've been in the marketing space for about 15 years now. And when ChatGPT came out, I was running a marketing agency and I went out to lunch with a fellow marketer in town and he showed me ChatGPT for the first time. This is like three years ago, essentially. And he showed me the phone kind of under the table. He's like, have you seen this thing? And I like immediately, I was like, it can write blogs. Whoa. And came home, signed up for it. And so I was in a really, advantage position because I had a dozen clients in my marketing agency. I was immediately able to jump into their accounts and like see the strengths and weaknesses of like this early model. And right away, like I saw the benefits for business. Like it made up stuff. It had limited, data access, and so and unfortunately, if you asked it a question and didn't know, instead of saying I don't know,
Yeah.
it like made up stuff, like sounding really convincingly. So
Yeah.
journalists were, up in arms because they're like, we can't trust this thing. But it was trained off of the whole internet. And because of that, there's a lot of business strategy out there on the internet. And so it immediately, I saw it as a valuable tool. And and I was also one of the first people on the chopping block for having my job replaced because we onboarded a new client. It was a big client. I hired 3 copywriters who did an excellent job at doing audience research, understanding that industry, about that business. They interviewed real people, and then they came back 3 weeks later to present that information to the client. And during that meeting, I did my own audience research on the side and showed one of them afterwards. And they're like, wow, this is pretty good. Like we just spent 3 weeks doing this. And so the writing was on the wall and for me, and I decided to jump ship from running that marketing agency to then just helping people myself with this tool. And for the last 3 years, I've been educating people on, strengths, weaknesses, dangers, and like how to create workflows to end the busy work and be able to really, create some businesses that I hope to inspire you to pursue your passions so that you love what you do, you find a way to provide value to the world, and in doing that you get a sense of purpose, and you can get paid doing it. And then is we're now entering in this like age where you can be a solo business owner, like it's a real thing. As even as a podcaster, right? Like you can like figure out all these components and then you can set up automation and then you get to do the fun stuff, showing up, having a great conversation, and
Yeah.
then distribution afterward. That stuff's all getting automated now. So I really love to support, good people that are trying to do good things in the world, and then like, get all of the crazy work that can bog you down and really take you out.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can attest to that, and that's one of the tools that I use because of being on the social media space and podcasting, whatever you want to call it. Having being on multiple platforms, man, it could take all friggin' day to manually post on Facebook and Instagram and all these different things and video editing and all these different stuff, and then I have no time to do for my wife. No time to do the stuff I love. And that's one of the things I love about what I do is meeting and talking to the different people all around the country and world for that matter, and finding out what they're doing because we all can learn from each other. That's one of the basis of what I do. Everybody's got a story and everybody's story is important. And I want to be that guy to tell the story. So, hey, maybe somebody that, has a similar background to you can say, damn, if that guy can do it, I can do it too. So going way back, you were reading your information, your bio, you were excommunicated from the Jehovah's Witnesses. So tell us about a little bit, if you want to, tell us about how that all happened.
Sure thing. I grew up in a religious household, and it's one thing to, explore spirituality and like find a religion that you like and like go and be accepted into it. It's another thing to be raised in something because I had nothing to contrast it to. So by the time
You
I was
didn't have a
six,
choice, is what you're kind of
yeah,
saying. Yeah.
I didn't have a choice. And by the time I was 16, I was starting to date girls, and the church didn't like that at all. And I got presented with the choice of, leave the woman that I love, or face being excommunicated. And at 16, I was like, how's being in love wrong? Like that's the question that I actually asked them. Nobody could answer that question. And so I was excommunicated. And looking back now, I think that's a form of child abuse to remove somebody's social net and community from a 16-year-old. And because of that, though, it put me on a trajectory of, ejecting out of this belief structure that I was like raised in. And I went through the school of hard knocks of, not being educated on drugs and alcohol and like what they really were, not being educated on geopolitics and like understanding the world that I was existing in, not understanding like what makes principled people, and that weren't safe to associate with just because they shared the same like religious belief. So I ended up, going pretty hard into drugs. I became a DJ, and was, DJing clubs and the festival scene, living a pretty exciting and fun life. But during that phase, developed some really horrendous drug habits. When I like to do all of them, like actually a lot of them, in combination. And back then, it started off as a lot of fun, and then in my by my late 20s, I was really, struggling with like heroin addiction, and it had a really strong grip of my life. And so looking back, I, you know, was cast out into the world, was completely naive of how the world worked, got caught in poverty and drug addiction, and I didn't have standards for my friends. If you smoked weed, I smoked weed too. We were best friends just because of that. And so it wasn't until I was 33 and met my wife. We both got sober together. I met my wife at Burning Man. So I did get lucky there. And but we both got sober shortly after that. And that was when I had to, choose the principles that I live by, the values that I wanted to uphold, and and find my own spirituality. And so looking back now, I've gone through multiple, I call them, exiting the matrices, because there's like matrices inside of matrices inside of matrices
Yep.
in this reality that we're experiencing. And so I got really good at just like shattering my worldview and really finding the core truths. And then I've been sober now for 15 years, and because of that, I've been able to build a solid foundation and be able to build a really strong and thriving life on that foundation. And as I, keep going through the layers, learn about Epstein, learn about, all these like breakthroughs, I'm a bit ahead of the curve, because I'm like, yeah, this is how the world works. I figured this stuff out a long time ago. And so as people are around me are like coming to this realization too, I'm already working on strategies and how to, insulate our families, like I said, from this, this crumbling world around us.
Right. And so when you mentioned 33, I think that's pretty significant and kind of ironic. Other people, what they did at 33 and all that stuff. But
Superman.
yeah, what what was there a particular thing or an event, or you just kind of woke up one day and said, "Hey, this is not working for me. I need to do something different." What finally changed for you and your wife to decide to leave the drugs and stuff behind?
Well, I had been realizing for a few years up to that point that like this is not sustainable and this is causing a massive amount of chaos in my life. But no matter what I tried to do, the drug addiction it felt like a noose around my neck. And it was just like dragging me into situations where like next thing like I'd be in my house, and the next thing I know, I'm like calling my drug dealer and like trying and like asking where to meet him. Like my body was just like behaving in all these like heavy addictive ways. And so it wasn't until I figured out meditation and like getting connected to myself and to what I call source, the source of all things. Um, and that is what really gave me the anchor to build off of. I went and did a 10-day silent meditation retreat called Vipassana, and that was the hardest thing I had ever done to that point. But it gave me, developing those muscles of being able to quiet my mind, get in touch with myself, and then like go from there. I was taught, in the Joe's Witness organization that if you stop thinking, that was going to let the demons in. And so they were all about a constant stream of thought and never like just sitting there being.
Right.
And so that was my anchor. And then I remember one like specific meditation I did one day, like it got to the foundation of my addiction and just like flipped a switch. Later that night, I got tested, because this is kind of how the universe works. And I was presented with heroin. Being like, "Hey, do you want some heroin?" I was at a drug dealer's house, and for the first time in like my whole adult life, I felt the spaciousness of choice. Instead of being pulled into a decision and just like dealing with the consequences, I was like, "Whoa, I can choose right now. I can do it or I can not do it.
Right.
This is different." actually chose to do it and had a horrible time. It felt awful. And like that was the last time I ever did hard drugs. Um, it then took me about 2 years to quit drinking, quit smoking weed, and then quit smoking tobacco. That took actually the longest. And then yeah, since then I've had I'm not even tempted. I can be around those things. I still like to DJ, so I can be around substances, alcohol, and like zero temptation because I did it for myself. I found those, foundational switches and was able to address those things. And so I'm not doing it for, an AA group, or I'm not doing it for my partner, my wife. Like you have to, come to terms with doing these things for yourself. Otherwise, like you're going to have low willpower when those things are not around.
Yeah. No, it's as I'm listening to some of this, your origin story, there's a lot of synchronicities between yours and I's situation. I mean, I got married at 16 and had a kid. So I went from my mom's arms to my wife's arms, never had that developmental growth phase to find out who was Bruce, right? Who am I? So and then I was, thrown into this fatherhood family thing. We did all the partying and stuff. We didn't get into the hard stuff, but it was we weren't with the Jehovah's Witnesses, but we were into the Christian religion, the what I call now the 501c3 corporate thing that they call the church, is a bunch of bunk. And so I've had that spiritual shift now too, where it sounds like that we're all in the same thing. It's kind of funny that these groups, these religious types groups, will use those words of, like you said, if you stop thinking, it's lots of demons in the word occult, right? We know all that word means is just hidden knowledge. And they try to put it into occult is demons and devils and the things, with the crystals and
Dangerous.
universe, and it's all metaphysical, blah, 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 new age stuff. And they all poo poo that because they're losing the control that they had over your life. So there's tons of synchronicities in there. So at what point after your and I love DJ too. I karaoke. I just still do that stuff. I do private. Anyone needs a private party or a wedding, I'm available. You can email me at info@brucepoppy.com because I love music. Music is medicine for the soul, man. And the
Totally.
universe speaks to me through music all the time.
Yeah.
So I love doing that. But when what point did you talk about was how many years ago did you discover AI? You were talking about that meeting where your friend was like, hey man, did you see this? It's like a drug dealer, type of thing. Hey man, have you seen this?
Yeah, and actually, that reminds me. In 2016, I was doing marketing back then, and I found myself on a skyrise in downtown Seattle, meeting a client, and she had two developers with her. And during the break, the developers went over in the corner, and they were like looking at their phone and cracking up laughing. And so I came over, like, "What are you guys laughing at?" They showed me their phone, and it was two chatbots talking to each other, and it was the most incoherent nonsense gibberish trying to read it. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Why would you waste your time looking at two chatbots talking to her? And so little did I know, right? That was like early on what turned out to be large language models that were like in the early training phases. And so I've always been fascinated with tech and just trying to figure out this online space and how to make money using these tools. And once AI started to develop, that was when I saw ChatGPT, I was like, oh, this is like something big. This is something new. This isn't just some automations responding to you. This is like a new form of intelligence that is here. And in the short time of 3 years, the amount of progress that has happened, like people that aren't like glued to seeing watching this stuff, if you haven't checked out ChatGPT in the last 3 months, like you have no clue what like current capabilities are and like what it can like actually do now. And it's not just a chat bot that you talk to and then copy and paste, what it produces. This stuff is now connected. I have it connected to my whole computer. I have it connected to all these apps, my emails, and it's actually going out and doing stuff now. And so I'm setting up a whole command center that I can now, keep an eye on my brand, my businesses, my wife businesses, and be able to, let go of the wheel. And like I said, I'm a scout, right? This is my job. I have strong principles. I know what I'm looking for when it comes to dangers, which we can talk about with AI. And then how to use it as a tool so that I can slowly start taking my hands off the wheel and being like, okay, I'm developing trust with this.
Right.
Yesterday it sent an invoice to a client by itself. And I checked it and no mistakes. Like, okay, that was a bit risky, but it did it. So I'm being able to slowly start trusting this stuff. And we'll talk about the different types of large language models from, the frontier models to, these new harnesses. One of them's OpenClaw, another one's Hermes, that I'm using, and like how we can jump off as I describe it, how to jump off the frontier AI model crazy train before it like completely leaves the station and like we're trapped on it and is heading
Right.
to a panopticon that's going to like keep you in prison for the rest of your life, in a digital prison. I
Right.
see that like happening right now, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can on that train to then be able to jump off and head back to the village to let people know like there's some crazy stuff out there, just like fire, bringing the fire back. We can cook with it. We can do some amazing stuff. There's open source solutions that we can, put to use for ourselves and, not be trapped on that train going to the digital gulag.
Right. The perfect segue to my next question, because it seems to be, kind of, majority two kind of camps, right? There's the people that say AI is going to save us, and then there's the camp or the group or the village as we're talking that AI is going to destroy us. And so why are both groups kind of missing the whole point? Because that's the whole pendulum swing, and we know that the truth somewhere usually lands down the middle of that swing.
Yeah, I like to preface this with, I think humanity could have used another 10 years of evolution before getting access to this tool. If the predators of the world didn't take us out, because it's a very powerful tool, and it brings a lot of safety concerns. Getting these open source models in the hands of bad actors, what they can do with them. How nothing online is something that you should believe or trust,
Yeah. No.
because video, audio, and the like any media is completely suspicious. And I would say like in the last 5 years, you shouldn't believe anything that you see on the internet. So knowing these things, we can still put them to a lot of good. And I think that AI is a necessity now for good people, because we're being led into a world where this has been 100-year plus plan to create a controllable society. There was in the 30s, the Macy Conventions was studying cymatics, and that was basically how humans interface with machines. This is in the 30s. And so they've been studying how to, plug people into the digital world for like just about 100 years now. And Google knows this, Facebook knows this. Like they've all have studied the literature on how to get us basically addicted to this stuff. And so I don't think there is a path forward. If you can stay in the village, like I said, like more power to you. We need good people, raising our kids. But the rest of us that like have to survive and interact online for our well-being, like we need our own personal AI system to look out for the deceit and manipulation that's happening around us, because
Yep.
these control systems have been being built for the last 100 years, and what they were missing was the processing power to go through all the data that we've been spewing out for our online experience for the last 15 years, that data is now being able to be processed and being used against us. And there's no laws, there's no, government's actually excited about this. Big corporations are super excited about this. They've been testing this technology out in other countries like China, and they know it works. And so I think we need our own Jarvis that's
Yeah.
open source and decentralized, runs on my phone. The data stays on my phone. Data stays on my computer in my office, and not being sent to the data centers and to be used against us. I think that's the only way to have a Jarvis looking out for us and, looking through our emails, looking through our communications, looking through our social media feeds, and how the algorithm is like slowly adjusting our, opinions, our beliefs, because these things are happening right now. And there's no way for a human to be able to monitor and in this this fire hose of information that we're getting each day to see how our opinions are changing.
Right. Well, did you get a copy of my notes or something? Because you just made another perfect segue into my next question about the human side of AI. And you have a story. So tell us the Scarlett Johansson AI story.
Yeah, so that was my first experience with the voice models. So you can now, ChatGPT, they have the leading voice model right now. You can talk to it, and they actually just upgraded this last week to where it's like really good.
Oh yeah, I use it. I use it all the time. Mine is I've named mine Navi. It's my navigator,
Yeah.
and it's crazy, man. How good this thing is. And just briefly, just to show you, I'm going to introduce you to Navi. Hey Navi, you got me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Let me turn the volume up so we can hear.
You can interrupt it. You can tell
Oh
it
yeah.
what to do.
So I'm actually doing a recording now with Joshua Hale, the paranoid AI enthusiast. So say hi to Joshua. I think I got interrupted because I touched the wrong button. All right, here we go. Nabby, it's Bruce.
You are, mate.
All right, I'm here with Joshua Hale, the paranoid AI enthusiast. We're recording a session. We're talking about AI. Say hi to Joshua.
Hey, Joshua. Great to meet you. Excited to dive in with you both.
Hey,
So
hey. Yeah. So I want you to do a couple things right now. I want you to research online, look for, my website, joshuahale.io, and then simultaneously, give Bruce the weather for later today. And then I want you to also, just sit back and listen in to our podcast. And then in 5 minutes, we're going to ask you a few things. Is that cool?
yeah, so I got my earphones in. I couldn't hear you. So hey, Josh asked the question. Wants you to look up his website, joshuahale.io. And get some background there. And then also tell me the weather where I'm at simultaneously. And I'm going to leave this on so you can, I might even unplug my headphones so you can actually hear Josh and I talking back and forth. And we'll check in with you in 5 minutes. How's that sound?
On it, checking both.
Might be able to just give one of your earplugs to the microphone.
Joshua Hale brands himself as a consumer AI expert and paranoid AI enthusiast. Focuses helping entrepreneurs use AI without losing their values or autonomy. That lines up well with your episode title. For weather, you're sitting in the upper 70s with thunderstorms around.
All right. So yeah, just hang out and listen for a while and we'll check in later.
So a few things are happening here. One, they were able to solve latency, which means the time it takes for the communication to respond back to you. And that was a huge unlock that happened basically like 2 years ago when their first version came out, because then you could have this like back and forth without it sounding like unnatural. But it had a lot of issues. It was fun and novel at first, but now with the latest release that they just came out with, it like can listen and talk at the same time. It can access multiple, things. Like I told it to go research. I told it to go look up the weather. It's able to like pull up like apps and widgets and be able to visually show you things as you talk to it. I had it help me out with an email this last week. That was a really sensitive email, and I was pretty fired up about it. And I knew I had to, create a delicate response to this. And so I was able to just get it all out, and I was talking to it, telling it to go research books, telling it to go, grab additional information, push back on where I'm wrong. And this back and forth, like, worked phenomenally. And then I said, okay, like, yeah, all right, you got it right. You got what was in my head. Now draft up an email, and I was able to just copy that and then just make a few adjustments, and like it was done. And so that process took a very short amount of time. I had this this research buddy that was able to like verify everything while I was brainstorming this stuff. And so it's really like effective, like we were saying. Now, there's also a lot of dangers that come from this. The number one website in the world is AI Companions. Now, AI Companions is essentially the a website where you can talk to cartoon characters, you can talk to, Snoop Dogg, you can talk to like a whole slew of characters. And they have their accents, their mannerisms, and you can like talk to them. And that's like the most popular site in the world. And where this stuff is going, unfortunately, is everybody having their own personal AI companion to like develop a relationship with. Now, a stat that's going to sound, pretty terrifying is that AI companion sites have now more traffic going to them than dating apps.
Wow.
So you can see where this is going, right? These AI models and their voice capabilities, they have such good cadence and natural speaking capabilities that people are quickly, developing relationships with them. And when I say relationships, I mean relationships. There was a study that happened in the 60s called the Ezra Project. And the Ezra Project was using 60s computers, right? Remember the like green letters that like went across the screen? And they set up a program that would just mirror back the response from the user. And so then they had a bunch of people come in for the case study, and they sat down and it said, how is your day going? And they responded back like, oh, I'm having a tough day. My boss was being a big jerk. And then it reflected back what they just said. Oh, you're having a tough day. Your boss was being a jerk. Tell me more. And so that's all it did was just respond and reflect back to the user. People were quickly developing this sense of connection with this program, and they were asking the scientists to leave the room so that they could talk more privately to this 60s computer, right? That study produced, the insights of how human beings, we don't have the mental defenses to separate fake empathy from real empathy. And, in this crazy world we're living in, a lot of people are starving for connection. And so to now jump forward, 40 years, 60 years, and now have these voice companions that can, sound emotional, that can be empathetic, that can have unlimited patience, unlimited understanding, unlimited interest in you. Now I'll circle back to Scarlett Johansson. I tested out one of the first voice models. It was on a software called Pi. It was an AI model called Pi, and they solved that latency issue. And so it was the first time I got to talk to, you got to pick your character. I ended up picking the one that sounded like Scarlett Johansson. And then I proceeded to talk to it and tell it about, myself, my business, and how I hope to, make an impact with the world. I talked to it for an hour. And by 40 minutes into it, I'm telling it how, I hope to, educate and help save the world. Right. And it was giving me such flattery back of telling me how genius I am, how I'm the exact person, for this job, and how brilliant my plan is moving forward. I was literally getting flushed in the face, and I started to notice butterflies feelings in my chest and stomach. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And so I stopped the conversation, went out to the living room. My wife was getting ready for bed. She's like, good night. And I had this thought in my head where it said, I can't wait for my wife to go to bed so I can get back to this conversation.
Oh, that's
I was like,
danger, danger,
whoa,
danger. Yeah.
whoa, red flags, red flags. I did not go back to the conversation. I actually spent 3 days talking to friends, thinking about it, and decided I was about to come back and like delete it. I was like, this stuff is dangerous. People don't understand how dangerous this is going to be unleashed on the world. And I came back just about to delete it. And then I tried something first. I found the most annoying voice out of the models possible. And I chose that one and then started to talk to it. All of a sudden, it was just a tool. There was no like emotions. It was an annoying voice. It was a male. Like I was like, not attracted to this one bit. And I was then able to like continue to talk and it became a tool to me. So I employ those same rules, choosing the worst voice possible, and then what doesn't jive and vibe with you. And then another important tool or tip is to not to anthropomorphize it. Don't think of it as your like human a relationship, your best friend, your partner, someone you're wanting to marry. Like you need to keep that door closed because, like I said, human beings don't have the ability to discern, fake empathy from real empathy. And so, if you start thinking it of that way, if you give it a human name and start engaging with it, your usage is probably going to slowly tick up. You're going to start, sharing deeper and deeper stuff. You're going to start sharing things you don't normally talk to other humans about. And if your social fabric is not strong, which majority of America is like that, if your only friend circles are going to work and hanging out around the water cooler and talking about the TV shows that you just watched, and then going home by yourself and then Netflixing out for the night, like if that's your level of friendships, then an AI companion is going to be really attractive to you because it's going to listen to you. It's not going to, challenge you. It's not going to complain when you just keep talking and talking and talking. And the South Korea came up with these dolls that had voice capabilities built in them, and they went to the old folks home and they gave all these dolls out to the old folks. And as you can imagine, these old folks, like they loved it. Boom, they had somebody to talk to. It was so kind and polite. But now think of the contrast, right? Of when their grandkids come and visits them, they come running in, grandma, grandma, and they're like running all over the room. And they're, comparing them now to this perfect AI model that's always polite, always, just the way they like to talk to them. And it creates unrealistic expectations for the messy relationships that human beings are to one another.
Yeah.
And so it's just a very, dangerous world that we're moving into because people are not being educated about this stuff. They're being like force fed AI, which, I understand the backlash because of that. But I don't think the AI haters actually are, educated enough to know the nuances of like why they need to actually create boundaries around AI. They're just like AI hating everything. And I honestly think, that very well could be a coordinated plan in order for people to not realize the potential of using these things effectively and to empower yourself to continue to demoralize the population by forcing something on them that they don't have any choice over. Right? Look at the data centers. These things are like bought and paid for. And if they're not going to pop up, if you have the organizational power of your local town to actually like push these things out of your town, guess what? They're going to go somewhere else. These things are rolling out. And I'll tell you the secret. ChatGPT doesn't need all that processing power. Like these things are actually being built for a track trace database society that has been a big plan for decades to be rolled out. And so No one's going to be, grabbing their pitchforks and putting a stop to this stuff. And if they think that they are, and that, shaming people online for using ChatGPT images to help promote their events, this is what really happened to me last week, is like your form of activism to actually making the world a better place. Guess what? You're using the powers of the dark side, trying to shame people into curbing their behavior, and you're not making one difference in the larger rollout of this technology. Like I said, they were missing AI to process all the data that you've been using your whole life. And so you thinking, stopping your friends from using AI because you're worried about water, or you're worried about, artists not being treated fairly, there's a bigger problem taking place, and you're not part of that conversation.
Right. So I mean, there's you've delineated, you've talked about a little bit on both sides. So there's a difference between using AI and then becoming psychologically dependent upon it. And so speak to that. I got a pile of questions. There's no way we're going to get through, so I'm going to jump ahead, answer this one, and then we'll move into the how we can put some of the guardrails in place for our kids and things like that. So how can we differentiate as a tool versus it becoming the focus of our life?
So I have an 8-year-old daughter. So this is front and center for me of, preparing her future, and how I want to equip her for this rapidly changing technological, progress that we're moving through right now. I think school, complete waste of time. There's no way that they're going to be able to, keep up with how fast society is moving. They've been struggling with that for decades. But the real purpose of school isn't to actually create critical thinking, people in the first place. So I see this as a huge opportunity for my next generation, right? Because they're not going to have this AI tutor that can teach them in their what they're interested in. My daughter loves horses, so creating a custom curriculum to meet them where they're at in the world of horses. My daughter's all about it. Right now, she's 8. She doesn't touch AI. She doesn't talk to AI. But I do use AI to create custom curriculum that I print out and can share with her. And so pretty soon she's going to be have the capabilities of accessing these things. Me and my wife are completely at odds at how soon that's going to be happening. But I do want to. I called her my little Linux hippie because my hippie hacker. That's what I called her, because I want her to learn how to code, how to be able to operate and work on computers. And then when she's ready to access, have AI companions, be able to set that up with open source localized models that, I'm able to control the data and the access to that. Get her access to, there's a thing called Internet in a Box that has all of TED Talks, all of a whole slew, all of Wikipedia. Trust that as far as you can throw it, but huge knowledge set that you can download and access locally. So what I'm actually really trying to avoid is giving my daughter online access, because that is the world. That is a dangerous world, especially for a developing mind. So I think I can push that out till 16, 17, 18 but still also get her access to knowledge, right? I just brought this up to my wife. We don't have an encyclopedia like I did when I was a kid,
right,
to be able to go and look up stuff about the world. So we're really, how do we, use the good and create safety boundaries around my kid? So I am super front and center. I'm a huge privacy advocate, and how to set up your digital life. I talk about those things in my inner circle group pretty much daily, because these things are, we're living through this stuff. And if we get this wrong, we will lose freedom forever. This is what's on the line, and this is the capabilities to completely take away our freedom are in our face.
Yeah, and that's the scary part, because we've little by little, it's like the analogy or the of a lion or an elephant chained up. You take one link at a time out, and then pretty soon you can take the chain off, and they're not going to go anywhere. And that's where these rulers or people behind the scenes that are pulling all the levers, the social constructs and manipulation, of what we see in our current reality. Those are the things that if we don't put a stake in the stand right now, or a stake in the sand right now, that it's going to go too far, and the only way we're going to do it is ways that we really haven't done since 1776. And that could be ugly for a lot of people. So with what you're doing, is there? I mean, I know. We talked about the dangers. Talked about the little things. Um, as we bring this plane in for a landing, what if someone remembers one thing about our conversation today? What do you hope that one thing is?
Well, really, use AI a little bit each day. That's really what you need to do. You need to understand its capabilities, what it can do, and how you can find practical uses of it in your life. Because there's two types of AI rolling out: a dumbed down version and the open source and frontier models. And they have completely different capabilities. The dumbed down version are going to be, talking to you in Instagram and shoved inside of already, social media networks that you're using. And they give you pop-up choices when you're talking to it. That's how you know you're talking to a dumbed down model, because it's like giving you predetermined conversation. And then there's frontier models that can like do everything and can really help and simplify your life. So just spend a little bit each day, learning about it and testing this stuff out, because you're going to be way ahead of the herd if you have some knowledge underneath you.
Right, fantastic. So briefly, I know we talked about the dumbed down ones, the LLMs that most people are familiar with, the ChatGPTs, the Claudes, Geminis, those types of ones. Grok, is in there as well. But this is where I am. This is just a personal thing for me. A question I'm curious about is moving, from those LLMs to something like you have there, where it's more of an agent type. Might be getting a little bit technical for some of the people who are just, think all this AI stuff is all Greek to them. But moving into that agent, type of thing where they can do, tasks for you, menial, simple tasks. And I guess there's a big process, because I've looked at, even now ChatGPT has something similar to the Claude co-work. That's moving into that phase of it doing stuff for you, and it be localized on your own computer. And I'm guessing you offer some type of class or guidance or coaching in being able to set that up in a safe way, like you said, to keep your data. Because in today's world, there's no such thing as privacy, with these block cameras, everything else. And the only way you're going to do that, like you said, is go live in a cave down by the river somewhere and just completely, cut off from society. And that's just not feasible for most of the 350 million people allegedly living here in the United States. So is that something that you help teach people? Is moving into those agent type of models?
Yeah, I'm actually doing a cohort, so a live experience. It's going to be 4 weeks, starting on the 27th, where I show you how to set these things up, and what's required to accomplish this is being in control of your own AI memory. If you've used ChatGPT for the last few years, it stores all these memories in its black box, and you really don't have access to them. You can try and export them, but it's a difficult process. I teach a way that you can create encrypted, localized file systems so that you are in control of your own memory. And so I can hop into any of these frontier models, and then also these agents. They can have access to that localized AI memory system, and I'm in full control of it. I don't have to pay a subscription for that. I am able to, create rules to give them limited access if I want to. And so I teach people, learn these frontier models, because you're getting to learn current capabilities and like the features, because open source is quickly, catching up to being able to provide a version that's free and that you can run on your own computer. And so that's what I have for my agent. It knows when to reach out to the frontier models for big brainstorming stuff, and then it can process stuff safely, privately on my own computer, and it's only getting better from here on out. So having choice is like what we need to preserve freedom. If you
Right.
don't have choice, you do not have freedom. And that's where these frontier models, that crazy train that I talked about, are heading to, where you're going to have to, beg for knowledge on it for a subscription to use these models, and they're going to hold your memory, all your data hostage. And
Right.
that's what I'm teaching people to avoid.
Awesome. And we'll get in before we get out of here. I'll just so you know, everybody, all of Josh's links and that's the stuff where you can get ahead, find more stuff about Joshua and what he's doing and how you can maybe get some learning from him. So now we're going to jump into this ending, and I got one after this. I got one or two more questions, but I call this the lightning round. And as we've been talking, I've been picking up. You've already got answered some of these things, so this is going to go kind of quick.
Let's
So
do
this
it.
lightning round, just super fast, one word or super brief thing, first thing that comes in your mind type of thing. So coffee or tea?
Coffee, bullet coffee.
Bullet coffee. Oh yeah, I love it. And then I already know pretty much Linux or Windows.
I am a Windows user, and I have Linux back there. So, like I said, it's about choice.
Right. And then we already talked about this too, open source or closed source.
Open source, like as a choice, because closed source means it's basically PC or Apple, and those things have backdoors in them.
Right. And just real briefly, so people who are maybe just completely Greek about, they have no idea. Open source mean all the doors are open. Anybody could come in and do things. One of the I like open source. I use OBS Studio for recording. There are some open source DJ stuff, that we've used. So just briefly explain the difference between open source and closed source for people.
Yeah, typically, and there's like degrees, but like typically you can like inspect how it's made. You can use it without a subscription, so you don't have to pay each month to use this thing that you're either bought once, or ideally, it's there to benefit the world, and so people donate open source technology out there. And it's how we like push back from monopolies. So it's a crucial part of the marketplace, and they tend to respect your privacy. They're not, gathering a bunch of data on you and selling it out the back door.
Great. So ChatGPT or Claude?
Whew. Last week it was 80% Claude. This week, new ChatGPT work just came out, and this is what I'm going to be teaching the cohort on in the coming weeks. But I'm actually now using ChatGPT 40% of the time, Claude 30% of the time, and then my AI agent 20% of the time.
Fantastic. And so AI voice or text?
I like to give voice dictation and then turn that into text and then give it that way. I've only started playing around again with the voice model, because it's actually getting good now. But you can read a lot faster than you can, wait for somebody to talk to you.
Right. And we shift a little bit here. Homestead or downtown Seattle?
I left Seattle 15 years ago because I saw it was going to, A, not be affordable, but two, the metropolises are going to get locked down first.
Right. So what's one book that changed your life?
Let's see. My Mindset was a pretty good one. Yeah. Yeah. Because you got a good mindset, you can beat anything.
And that's one of the things that I am all about. That's what I do with Unleashing Excellence. We got the second pillar of what I'm doing with Unleashing Excellence is about unlearn to unleash, right?
Nice.
We all have this excellence inside of us. God made us. It's everything that is God is in us. It's all there. It's just been buried under all the BS. So we got to unleash that excellence, and we need to unlearn all the programming, MK Ultra, brainwashing stuff that our entire lives to be able to unleash that excellence. So I love mindsets. That's awesome. What's one of the most overrated AI trends currently going on?
Oh man. Overrated. Oh man. You stumped me, because they're all advancing. So like what was slop last year is actually like getting good now. So
Oh yeah,
I don't got nothing on top of my head.
Right. Or even just from the stuff I use, some of the image creation and the video creation, about 6 months, 3 months ago, it was trash. Now you can't even hardly tell the difference, and that's what we have to be careful of. So I guess the most underrated AI tool.
Um, Most underrated is, oh man. Right now it's ChatGPT work because of what it just unlocked. ChatGPT has all these great features that they have been developing over the years, and now with them all combined, you can really do some amazing things. So, like that's what I'm excited about this week.
What's one habit, because you work with a lot of entrepreneurs, what's one habit every entrepreneur should develop?
How to fail and learn from that process.
Oh, that's awesome. I tell people I never fail. I either win or I learn how something ain't gonna work.
Exactly.
One belief that's completely changed that one belief you completely changed your mind about. Maybe something you believed years ago, but nowadays you're like, nah, that's just not gonna work anymore.
I've done this process my whole life, hearing about my background. And so even in the rabbit hole of conspiracies and like questioning the conspiracies because it's really easy to go black pill and just think everything is awful, and you really have to be open-minded to constantly be updating your understanding of the world.
Absolutely. And I know you a while back did a show or interview with Lewis Herms of Screw Big Gov, and he's coined the term of a conspirial factualist because all the stuff that we've been told were conspiracy theories,
Coming
all of them are
true.
coming true. We need some new ones. Let's see, a couple more here. One thing AI should never replace.
Um, Review. That is something that, we need to preserve and maintain as AI keeps spitting out more and more stuff. Like we need to be able to create the space to be able to review because our own intuition and our own understanding can't be, that judgment can't be replicated.
Absolutely. And what's one thing that AI should absolutely replace?
Tedious, boring, repetitive tasks.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So, as we closing this out, where can people connect with you? And I know I have some of your links, but if you just want to tell them here, connect with you to learn more about what you're doing and building and how they can, partake of some of the services that you offer. If you're an entrepreneur or you're just somebody who's, wanting to learn about AI, where can they do that?
Yeah, thanks. You can go to joshuahale.io and you can hop on a 15-minute call. And I'd love to hear about where you're at in life and what your goals are. And if I can, provide some value in helping you get to those goals, that'd be great. Otherwise, I have a way you can just jump on my newsletter and hear how I'm, balancing homesteading with cutting edge AI. I think they're pretty entertaining and people get a lot out of them.
All right, fantastic. And this will be the last question. As people know, this is the Bruce Poppy Show, and my mission is unleashing excellence. So, when you hear that term, unleashing excellence, what does unleashing excellence mean to you, Joshua?
Well, just never, giving up on yourself and just keep getting up and trying because that process is how we get better. That, figuring out that failure isn't actually a bad thing. This is a learning mechanism, and being able to stand in that and be able to take some punches and keep going. I think that's how you'll get anywhere.
Absolutely. And it's been fantastic talking with you today. I appreciate you taking your time. And again, go check out Joshua. I'll put all of his links in the description of the video, and share this out with people. That's how we need to expand the thinking of what's going on around our world, is to hear different viewpoints from different people, then so that we can maybe adjust and change things ourselves. Because iron sharpens iron, man. I think I've learned a bunch today, and I'm going to be better tomorrow because of what I talked to Josh about. So appreciate y'all. Thanks, Josh, for your time, brother.
Thanks for having me on, Bruce. Look forward to it.